What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is retired Navy SEAL Commander Rorke Denver. Rorke is a decorated combat veteran. His awards include the Bronze Star with V for his courageous actions in combat. He is also the star of the hit movie Act of Valor, which featured a number of Navy SEALs. Rorke is also a New York Times bestselling author of Worth Dying For and Damn Few. It's a big honor for me to have him on the podcast today. So go down there, smack that subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with former Navy SEAL Rorke Denver on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father, Rorke Denver. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
All right, let's start right here. How many kids do you have? How old are they?
So I have two daughters, and they're 9 and 11.
Wow, okay, very cool. Are they involved in any sports or activities yet?
They're really engaged. I mean, they've gone through several rounds of, I think, kind of figuring out what they want to do. My 11-year-old takes a lot after mama, big performance, and doing a lot of stuff on stage, dance, that kind of stuff. And then my youngest one feels like she might be the jock. She's kind of built like me. She's a little bit of a freight train for age. So I think if she finds the right sport, man, she's going to be a terror. But she's played soccer and a little bit of lacrosse. She wants to do basketball. So they're at that feeling it out point. And I don't believe in the 365 days a year elite travel team squads where it feels like we somehow ruined kids' sports. They're both still having fun, so it's good, but super active. Yeah,
I'm right there with you too on that theory, Rorke. So if you could please just take a minute here to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Yeah, I'm a former Navy SEAL commander, 20 years in the SEAL teams from, early, right about a year and a half pre 9/11, then all the way through the thick of that fighting in that time. Got to run assault teams in Africa, Latin America, Afghanistan, Iraq, anywhere else that we might be chasing bad guys. And then I finished my career kind of running training for the SEALs, both at the basic and the advanced level. Do a lot of consulting on leadership, high performance teams, and trying to figure it out like the rest of us, my path forward and where I want to be. Grew up in the Bay Area, California, athlete my whole life, and feel very, very blessed. I've had a great run so far.
Yeah, very cool. And thank you for your service, of course, Rorke. And so then, were you still serving when about how old were you when you became a dad, and how did becoming a father kind of change your perspective on life?
It changed it hugely. I mean, my bride was with me through the entire experience. I met her only about a year and a half into the adventure, so she's been with me the whole time, which the hat gets tipped to her for suffering through all that. And then we had our daughters, fortunately, not really by design, but a little bit purposeful, kind of right post my assault team active duty kind of really chasing bad guys window of time. So I'd gotten to our training center, which is as close to a 9 to 5. It's not that at all, but as close as we get to that at that point. And I'd say the decision to come off active duty and not keep chasing the fight had every bit to do with the kiddos. And there's plenty of guys that make that work and balance it out and figure it out. I turned over every stone I wanted to turn on in my career, so I wanted to be there and present in their lives. So it was a huge transition from active duty to the reserve time to finish up my career, and they were a big part to play in that.
Yeah, well said. And I can't even imagine what it must be like to go from that high-speed atmosphere to kind of tone that down to the family life and the family lifestyle. And I know you're big on preaching about the principles of leadership. It's a big part of what you do. How could we apply? Can we apply those principles of leadership to fatherhood, and how could we do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the beautiful thing about the lessons, we learned, and certainly not just me, but anybody you talk to, and you've obviously interviewed a bunch of my brothers and teammates and folks that have lived this life. Almost everything we learn on the battlefield, it feels like, translates. But I think that's life. I think it's one of the interesting things about kind of the human animal and the design is those simple lessons we learn can be big lessons, and those intense experiences can be rendered down into something purposeful that you can learn to move forward. So one of the things I've been focused on lately, and I think we're talking really recent, is a lot of guys that come from my background and men in general have this tough exterior, this hard veneer, and I think fatherhood in many ways has been built into that over generations. And there's certainly parts of that that I hope my girls will see and seek out in the men, if that's their kind of pursuit later in life or whenever that window opens. There's hard parts of us that I think are important. At the same time, I've tried to kind of recently figure out a way to soften things. In my last life, if I said something, it was as good as notarized. It was gospel. And sometimes, I'll see my daughter getting ready and I'll say, hey, you look beautiful. And she'll hear that. But then 5 minutes later, she'll ask me if she looks beautiful. And my instinct is to say, I told you look beautiful. I don't again. And what am I doing? I should be able to say that 100 times. I want to kind of soften and give that as many times she wants to hear it. So I've actually, instead of trying to get harder, I've been trying to get softer when it comes to being a father. And I think that's going to pay dividends, particularly with daughters.
Yeah, and I have 3 boys, and then got my only girl on the 4th try there. So she's our youngest, and it's been very different in the way that I discipline, the way that I approach her and everything. So adding on that a little bit, what type of disciplinarian are you as a dad, and is that different than the discipline style you grew up with?
Yeah, I think, no, I think it actually is, I think about runs parallel. My dad was a very discipline focused person. My parents split, so I was, raised by my mom every bit as much. I think she held my brother and I accountable. She made us do hard things. That's one thing that she really, either by, commission or omission, we'd be, scraping the decks, painting the house, redoing the roof. Chores were real. She was the mom that if you didn't meet the grade, you weren't going to play with friends, you weren't doing the weekend trip. My buddies got used to driving up to our house. We had a long driveway. They would not pull into my driveway. They'd hope for me to come down because they knew if they stopped, my mom would put them to work. And I think we're both, my bride and I, trying to figure out a way to make sure we make life just hard enough. I think this culture, this country has frankly gotten soft. We can be comfortable all the time, and I don't think that's where you learn good lessons. So pushing them to just hard enough or maybe a little beyond is something we're focused on and trying to make that happen. As far as discipline, we're not, we're certainly not hitters. We're not yellers because it doesn't seem to get far. So we kind of, go with kind of the carrot and stick. You do well, you get the carrot, and that goes well. If you don't, the stick is, you get some consequences or you lose opportunities, and that seems like life.
Yeah. We're in the trial and error all the time with this stuff, trying to find different ways to work. A lot of the technology we use, our kids would rather have game time than money in their pocket. So it's definitely a different way to approach all this stuff.
It is.
And backing up on what you just said there too, like I talk about the fatherless crisis that we have in our country. We have so many kids that are growing up without a father. Devastating results in our society here. So we're seeing this like on the streets where people feel like it's okay, comfortable to attack police officers. We see the rioting, the looting. You think this is a result more of lack of leadership from our country, or lack of leadership in the home?
I think it's both. I think the home is where it starts. So I think there's no question that, a kid that grows up with a parent, family, whatever those parents frankly look like, if they're committed to the kid and taking care of them and pushing good lessons and holding them accountable, you're going to get, I think, almost virtually guaranteed better result than someone that's not in that situation, which is not to say single parents don't knock it out of the park as well. I think we're living in this interesting time. If you follow history, empires seem to rise and fall like the tide, and over the glacial period of time that proves true. And I think you see societies, many of the greatest that have fallen, they got to a level of excess and comfort and ease that all of a sudden they tried to burn the whole system down. And we can even see that very recently. You look at the Russian Revolution, you look at the French Revolution, these things are parts of the world that got to an excess of comfort that then everybody decided to tear it down. I sure hope we're not in the beginning stages of doing that ourselves. I think we've achieved, greater status, even as a young champion kind of on the world stage, that I hope we can figure out a way to mellow and realize how good we have it, and to therefore push for what's next, what's best for, our country, every country, humanity. I think America stands, poised to be able to deliver that if we don't destroy ourselves. And I do think, at the national level of leadership and then at the home leadership, we have to do that well or we're in big trouble.
Yeah, very well said, Rorke. And I know obviously you starred in Act of Valor, and I had recently one of the SEALs that was in the documentary of Buds 234, and I think those two things really blew the lid off there as far as kids wanting to try out for Buds. It made the SEALs much more popular, obviously, than they ever were before. Are you seeing this as a good thing, a positive thing that we have so many more kids that are interested? I mean, I drive Uber on the weekends, and maybe in the last 2 months, I've had about 3 different guys that said that that's what they want. They're going to try for buzz. So something that would be kind of unheard of before. But do you see this as a good thing, or is it hurting the teams? How much different is it now because of all the popularity of the SEALs?
Yeah, I think it's a little. I mean, there's mixed blessings and all those things. I think, one, I try and be very careful not to throw stones in a glass house. I've written a book. I've been on the public stage talking about it. I always try and hold myself to a higher standard of what I think the brotherhood expects. Now, there's some people within the teams that will never be okay with anybody talking. I utterly respect that opinion. I also believe, guys that have had our experience have this treasure trove of life experience, geopolitical experience in the world. And if you can share that, it'd be a shame to circle the wagons utterly and not, share those experiences and lessons learned. So I try and be very circumspect about what I talk about. My books are very much about higher ideals, what I've learned, not too much chest thumping about what I accomplished, but much more those, on my right and left, what they did and what I learned from them. I'd say the scrutiny, and then I think the spark or the shine that's put on SEALs is good in so much that it has lit a spark over to a younger generation that can come fill our boots and continue on in that brotherhood or other warrior classes that are going to do the nation's work. And it doesn't feel like the world's getting any safer, so we need good young lions showing up to do that job. So I think that's a benefit. I'd say the detractor is it puts such a high, kind of price on our head for performance behavior that now any misstep, any stubbing of the toe becomes, national news and things that key on. But, the crown's heavy for the king, and the SEALs are the king amongst all these other people. But when you're in that, very spotlighted position, you then need to champion that behavior, code, level performance at a high level. So there's probably mixed blessings there.
Yeah, and I as a civilian, I think it's really just a blessing to the society that we have access now to you. I mean, I've never been a military guy. I don't find necessarily the combat part of the stories and the books to be the attractive part. It's more the mindset, the mentality, the leadership principles, and all that type of stuff that I think is very beneficial to our society here. So, and I know I'm glad to see that there's several SEALs that are and other military members that are getting involved in politics, and I think we definitely need those voices. Have you ever considered throwing your hat into that political arena?
Yeah, I'm definitely reticent to do it, right now. And I think mostly because, I think there's real value in kind of spending time building, your career. Maybe it's wealth, maybe it's some level of comfort or some level of experience with your family before you get in that fight. I agree utterly. And I wrote my second book, Worth Dying For, a lot about kind of universal service and getting into political service, and even a section on how many people in Congress had military service up and through the 70s and how that's utterly reversed down to very, very few. So it's beautiful to see a lot of young soldiers, both from special operations, conventional forces, military experience, coming back into politics. I think it will only do right by the country and inform great leaders into those positions. I would say the answer is yes, but with an asterisk that I feel like I have a lot of other things to do first. I mean, I'm fast approaching 47. I still feel young. I've got a lot of energy and a lot of things I want to accomplish. But I certainly haven't closed the door. I think, putting our best and brightest in those positions, by no means am I saying me, but, for years and years and years, truly our top citizens were those that served in those positions. They put their service in and then they went back. And I think this is one of our major problems. We have career politicians, some of the people running for office right now, 50 years in D.C. I don't think that's the right fit. I think it'd be great if we could inject energy, leadership, service-minded folks that'll put their time in and then move on back to their civilian life. So the door's not closed, but I don't have a plan yet. We'll see.
Yeah, I would love to see it, Rorke, and I agree with you there too. I think that's the type of change that we definitely need to see. I know we need something, and I think that could definitely be a great thing for the country moving forward. And just you as a dad here, how would you feel about, or what would be a good age for your kids where you would feel comfortable allowing them to see a movie like Act of Valor or read your books?
It's funny because friends of theirs already have seen it, of course, and so I'm like, oh boy, don't get too immersed in what they've told you, because there's some tough moments, obviously, for them when they see their papa, albeit not actually happen to me. They'll be able to hug me when it happens, but I don't know. It's a good question. I think they're both readers, which I love, which is a big kind of trend in our family and bloodline. We love to read, and so they both have that gene and that desire, which I love. I think the books, are a few away, and the movies will be. The thing I love about my daughters is the world's coming fast to kids right now. I think the pressures and the intensity of media, whether it be through cell phones or all you can download and all they're exposed to right now, is too much. I want my kids to be kids, and I was almost choked up in the car the other day when I heard my 11-year-old and her friend talking about watching this TV show that I know that is for like 5 to 8-year-olds, and they still love that show. And I'm like, yes, dude, just stay with that show right now. You'll have plenty of time to be an adult. So I'll probably forestall it or delay it as long as possible. They got plenty of time in their life to be to work on the hard edges.
Yeah, I get the same way as you do there, Rorke, and I love the fact that even we have access to these things. Like Hulu now has the Thundercats, the whole series on.
Oh, it's awesome! I know.
So I love that we have that instant. You don't have to worry about trying to find this stuff. It's great that we have access to it. We can share some of that stuff with our kids.
Yeah, so good. So funny you bring up Thundercats. That popped up on something, and my bride saw it and was like, "Look at this." I was like, "I grew up with that show. That show was the best." Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of my all-time favorites. And speaking of that, are there any plans? What kind of goals do you have for yourself for the future? I know we hit on the little political aspects, but are there any other movies? Are you getting involved in anything like that? What kind of things you have coming up in the future here?
Yeah, right now I'm working on a new company. I'm a co-founder in a company called High Ground. You can't find it yet. We'll have a splash page and a website, I think, up in the fall. It's going to have a lot to do with human empowerment, mindset, some security, home defense, preparedness, a lot of different avenues, corporate experiences, individual experiences, family stuff for kids, stuff for women, a lot under the umbrella. So we're making sausage right now, but High Ground is going to be a big pursuit moving forward. In the entertainment space, I don't have very purposeful or kind of active goals when it comes to that. But, movie offers came out after the first movie. I want nothing to do with being an actor. I've done a couple TV shows. It has to be something that I feel like will represent my family, my family name, the history of who we are, the brotherhood I was a part of. I don't want to do anything to disrespect that. So if it's got high ideals, if it's got the idea of human empowerment or bettering yourself or something along those lines, I'll sit in those conversations. If it doesn't, I kind of want nothing to do with it. So there's nothing hot on the press right now. I love to write, so I'll think of something new, but I don't want to write books just to write books. So I'm kind of milling over what the next process is. So I'm in a little bit of I'd say operational pause to get a couple things off the ground, but good stuff is coming.
Yeah, awesome, Rorke. And the last thing I'm going to hit you with here, I'd love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about-to-be father who's out there listening?
Yeah, for the new dad and the new father, I would say really be present. As all of us know that are in it, it goes fast, and you can miss it if you decide to not immerse yourself and take it on very, very seriously. So I'd say be purposeful in your pursuit of doing that job well. Be present as much as anything. I think just being actively engaged in it, as opposed to in our clogged, kind of congested 24-hour cycle lives we have right now. Get off your phone, watch it. If your kids are present, make sure they see you looking at them, not looking at your phone. If you do that alone, I think you're probably off to the races.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. It's been a big honor for me. I got to say, Rorke Denver, you're a first-class father all the way, and thank you so much for giving me a few minutes.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Nah, thank you. I appreciate it.